Okay. This panel, actually, we should thank Anna for this panel, because what I did was I reached out to Anna, asked her to look at what we were doing here, and said, so is there anything you're missing? And you said, well, what about innovation comms? And here we are. So I'm so happy to introduce to you Anna Eckerstein, Volvo Group Connected Solutions, Camilla Myhre Sandberg, Miris, and then we have Celine Fierro.
Yes.
From Swadd, which is a MarTech company. I'm very happy to have a startup on stage. And then, of course, you're coming back to us, Marcus Bjärneroth, PR, Global PR Manager of Garmin
Nordic, but
sorry.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that after this, definitely global. Yeah.
So we need to give him a round of applause, first of all, for coming. I also just want to really quickly, Ansi, before you continue.
Yeah.
So we would love to answer your questions as well. We have some questions to start off with. Again, it's in the middle of the table on a URL. This one is slido.com. It's /digital panel. If you go under the byBrick one, I'm going to look at both, and I'm going to alert you and see if there are any questions from the audience as we continue. So just type in those questions on innovation.
And we decided that we would stand up and try to make it a bit, because everybody's just had lunch. So this is a tough hour to cover, or 45 minutes to cover. But also, we know that some of these companies may not be known to everybody. So I'm going to ask all of you to make an introduction. And I'm going to give Camilla the clicker so that you can get the green button so that you can first start off with 2 clicks to get your movie going, and then you have your slides.
Excellent. Here we go. So I'll give you a little bit of context to the company. We are a medtech company. We were established in 2001 and have been public since 2006. I started 3 years ago, so I've been with the company for 3 years. And we work with analyzing breast milk, basically. We develop, we produce, sell, and market our products to a global market. So when the company started, the application was to measure nutritional content in dairy milk. And it was used in food processing. And then in 2006, the company launched also an analyzer to analyze breast milk, because dairy milk and breast milk is really different in composition. And since then, the company has produced both products for 11 years. And then after I started, we basically took out the whole dairy milk portfolio to be able to focus the company around the more clinical applications. Just to give you a little bit of context, what this is all about. It's all about the preterm babies. We have about 15 million births a year, preterm births. That's about 11% of all birds in the world. What we do know is that breast milk is definitely the best nutrition for preterm babies. But what we also know is that preterm babies need more nutrition than what's in the milk. And it's quite extreme, actually. So I wanted to give you a little bit of understanding of how big this need is. So for a preterm baby that needs about 130 calories per kilo and day, that would be the same as a grown person doing Tour de France a day. That's how much energy you would use. So that's kind of the same level. Same with protein. 4 grams of protein per kilo and day. That would mean for a grown person 70 kilos to eat 17 burgers every day.
So that's something for Max. Yeah.
So when you just look at the numbers, it doesn't look that big. But for these tiny babies, it's very, very big. The problem is a little bit that the breast milk, it is what it is. It varies a lot when it comes to neutral content. And it varies during the day. It varies between or based on how early the baby is born, how many weeks it is, and also between mothers. So just because around the world, what you usually do is you add extra nutrients, so fat, protein, and carbs, to the milk as a standard solution for these premature babies. But since the milk is so variable, you don't really know if you give the baby the right amount of nutrition. So it could be under nutritioned or over. And that can have quite big effects, especially when it comes to both physical but also cognitive development of the baby. So this is really, really key. It can, if you get the right nutrition, you can also make sure that some of the other problems the baby maybe have will be lower as long as you get the right nutrition. So in Sweden, we do something which the rest of the world has not done yet, so much at least, and that is to analyze the breast milk. Because as long as you analyze the breast milk and get the content, the concentration of the macronutrients, you can then calculate how much extra protein, fat, and carbohydrates you need to add to the milk. And the milk will then be tailored for each baby. And this is something which is called target fortification. It's been standard of care in Sweden for 2 decades, which is fantastic. But the rest of the world, they're not doing it. It's not standard of care anywhere. So that's our big mission, to take this to the world and make sure that every NICU that takes care of these tiny babies have a chance to do target fortification. So our product portfolio looks like this. It's the analyzer and 2 more instruments for sample prep. We're doing a lot of packaging around that now. We are the only medical device available in the world. It's a medical device in Europe, in Japan, and just before Christmas last year, we received FDA approval in the US. So US is a huge focus for us now to establish this platform in the US.
Thank you. Did anyone know about Miris?
Probably not.
It's a pretty cool company, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing and very data-driven, which we are going to talk about as well.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask Celine.
Here you go.
I hope I've put them in the right order. Otherwise, we're going to start battling with that clicker. So tell us about Swadd. Also, how many of you know about Swadd? Yeah, we've got one hand, and it happens to be my husband.
Great.
Go figure.
Welcome up to stage. So we are a marketing martech company that democratize the advertising and give a small amount to the consumer for engaging with a brand. And we do that through our app, where we put marketing-oriented driven microtasks that consumers pick and they choose to do, and then when they can prove to us that they did a task, they get compensation. 50% of the Swedish population is direct negative to advertising, but still marketing budgets increases. The total marketing budgets increases every year, what we spend on media. Last year it was 6%, so there is a misconception here. So we want to make it fun to consume advertising and then give a small amount back to the consumer. An example of a marketing-oriented driven task could be a customer of us is called School Parrot. They want people to say things about their school, to rate their old schools and so forth. So they give us an amount of money for putting up the task, and then we give people a small amount of money when they do the task.
Yeah, thank you.
We started 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've been pivoting our model, and I don't know if you want me to talk about that now.
I think that you should, because I think it's kind of interesting, just like really quickly, because you have, this is what you're trying out now with the tasks, but you also have a few other angles of the product. Yeah, we do. We launched 1.5 years ago as a quiz where we got consumers to do quiz about the message understanding of a brand. And it was very easy to get users. So we got like 80,000 users in a couple of months, were 30,000 active. And but it was kind of hard to get the advertisers to sponsor the quiz. And we asked, like, we have so many users, what's up? And they said, but we don't want to pay 5 crowns for people or for a person to show us that they understand our message, but we can pay you 100 crowns or 200 crowns or 50 crowns for a new customer. So that's why we switched, we pivoted a little, and we started to do these micro assignments. So we asked our consumers, our customers, that if you wanted, would you, instead of earning 2.5 crowns for a quiz, would you like to go out and buy a soda or download this app and answer this question for 20 or 40 or 50 crowns? And they were like, yeah, sure. So this is what we're doing right now. And you know that I'm trying to challenge you on that, because I have customers that are very much interested in understanding, are we putting out our messages in the right way? So maybe we could actually do both, because you have both versions still active. So just saying, if anyone is like investigating how the messaging is working, Celine is the girl to go to.
Yeah, so you can use our platform both for assignments, but also for insights.
Cool. Okay, so Anna, you're up next.
Thank you. Okay, so I work for Volvo Group Connected Solutions, and Volvo Group is not Volvo Cars, so it's the other part of the Volvo brand. And we often have to say this, even though we are in Gothenburg and we are based in Gothenburg, it's not so easy to understand the brand structure. So, but Volvo Group then, we have brands as Volvo Construction Equipment, Volvo Trucks, Volvo Penta, Volvo Buses, Renault Trucks, UD Trucks, and Mack Trucks, and a few other brands. That's the part that I work for. And then we have developed, a few years ago, we developed an area called Connected Solutions. And we do then connected solutions for all these brands, which means, for example, that when you have a signal on a truck and when you send it off the truck, we take care of the signal and then we develop it. And we use the data that we can have them from the truck to develop new services for our business. And I think what is how we do this then is that, of course, we have a lot of, most people working for Connected Solutions are software developers. We are based both here in Gothenburg and in India, Japan, China, and the US, about 700 people. We consider ourselves being pretty small, but but we said 50 plus, right? Yeah, so we're not that small. But in the group, we are small. developing this. So of course that brings a few challenges, since the Volvo Group is a pretty large company. And then another thing that I think is important for us, especially talking about communications, is that 50% of the people working for us are consultants. So that's a big number, and it will not change. That's how it's set up in the industry. So that's something that we have to work with. And I think we heard earlier also that it's a challenge to find these people, especially here in Gothenburg. It is a big challenge for us. So I think we are a few companies that need to join forces and see what we can do. And then we have all these developers, but then we have something that we call Innovation Lab, which is then a really innovative area where we are in the first phase of innovations and really developing potential solutions for us going forward. So really, really early stage. The Innovation Lab also has an office in Silicon Valley. And that's, of course, because we want to make sure that we are part of the ecosystem also in Silicon Valley, which is really important in this industry. And I think I will stop there.
Yes, that's fine. And then Marcus?
Yes.
Garmin.
Yes, my name is Marcus, everyone. I work at Garmin as the Nordic. Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
I changed. Sorry.
Yes, I know.
Bit of a control freak, so I changed your slide. I'm using this. How many has a relation to Garmin? Does anyone own a Garmin in here? There are potentials. If I say Garmin, give me a few words. What do you say for segment? Yeah. This year we've turned 30 years. We sell about 200 million products to date last month. And our biggest struggle is that we have hiking, hunting, fishing, biking, running, swimming, walking, golfing, boating, flying, parachute, and up to 24 different segments. We take pride in only releasing product that is greater than the opposite, the competition, which means that we have to innovate. We have to work with big data. We have to work with state of the art and the most frontline companies, like we're working together actually with Volvo Groups. And the innovation is how to do that from time to time. And we do release 85 new products every year. Sometimes I wish I worked for a company who have 2 or 3 products, but that's not the issue, and I will probably get bored. So I'm glad we have 85. We come from US. The Nordic office region is based in Gothenburg. That's all from me.
Very good. And now we're going to move over to questions, because now we know all these people, right? Mm-hmm. So we understand that they have very different backgrounds and sort of like the companies are very different. But when I spoke to you prior to this, I sort of realized that there are similar struggles and you're battling them in different ways. So I think that's really interesting to discuss. And I was sort of wondering when it comes to, and I'm going to let you, Anna, lead on this when it comes to innovation processes, because like you said, you have the lab, very early stages. And then I'm going to let you, because we're going to do this more like trying to get a flow going. So I'm not going to talk all the time. But the whole thing with the innovation processes and like trying to take to market at a very early stage. I know you do it too, as Celine and Garmin as well. What's the struggle in that? Like when you have to be very early on?
Yeah, I mean, for us then, we don't take the final innovative ideas that we have to market directly, but in order for us to continue to develop them, to be able to take them to market, there is a lot of stakeholders that we need to have contact with. To develop the solutions, we need to work with partners. So the whole both startups, and we discussed earlier that maybe we should do something joint here, but both startups, super important for us, and other companies. So that is really a target group for us to make sure that they understand what we do and that they want to do something together with us. So that's to narrow it down to, it's not a final product, not at all, but we want to work with someone that we can do something together with. A very specific target group. And then also, of course, internally, being this huge company, we are dependent on an R&D budget coming from somewhere else within the group, and making sure that those people in the group feel that this is really something that we should invest our money in. So we also have a big internal target group, so to be able to continue to develop our innovations. So I think narrow it down when it comes to communication, really to who are we talking to? There's so many different parts that we're talking to every day.
Interesting. Anyone want to take more of that? Or are we moving forward? Just check in. No, we're moving forward. But I was thinking, because when you work with innovation and you bring new solutions, new products, you are really working on the creation of demand. People don't even know they need the product that you produce, right? So how do you work with that? And I'm going to let Camilla start on that, because I mean, you're at that stage trying to get the global world to understand why Sweden, what you're doing, why Sweden is so good at neonatal care.
Well, I think so. In our world, it's all about evidence. You need an education, I would say, because that's the only way that we can make our potential customers see that they need what we have, basically. So we have to be really good at doing education, and we have to be able to back it up with evidence. And that's not always so easy, because when you're innovating, it takes a little bit of time before you have the evidence.
And you've got the clinical level of it as well.
Exactly, which is a big deal. So even if you have all the things in place when it comes to reproducibility and all that clinical stuff, and it's safe and everything, you need to also show that the babies actually get better by having target fortification for them. So, I mean, it's I think on a level of how you communicate with the market, it's you have to give them the evidence, you have to give them the education, but you have to do that based on your own knowledge and know-how, and actually somewhere understand that you're the expert, not them. Even if it's in their clinical market, you're the expert. You have to guide them, and you have to do that in a way which is on their playing field and not your own, in a way.
Yeah.
So that's a
good one.
really good
Do you
challenge.
want to lean into that, Celine? You know, you definitely in a journey of creating demand and developing as you go, together with both the users of the app, but also the clients.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, we work in the advertising field, and the problem there is that for the consumer to understand your message, you need to give the consumer something. And we're very good, or brands are very good in like screaming out and telling their message, but not really understand how the receiver is receiving it. So there is something you need to do to like reach out, and that is to you have to give the consumer something. We work with monetary systems, but also a little bit of a dopamine kick when you do a quiz or so. But other ways to work is with, for example, humor or other things that gives the consumer something when they, to get some sort of connection.
Yeah, we talked a lot about neuroscience and dopamine yesterday, so I can understand the whole quiz format that can really get people going. So that's quite interesting. But how have you managed to get 80,000 users on the app as a new service?
We had a good referral program in the beginning, and I don't know. We were just into something.
You were just good communicators.
No, but we were found. It was founded by communicators. So, but it's there is no one doing this, and everybody loves to earn a little bit of money and have fun. So we found a way to connect brands with that. So
cool. Marcus, do you have anything to add on the creation of demand? You do a lot of product. I was actually yesterday curious on that. You do so many product launches. Yes. How do you create the demand for a new version or a totally new product?
Could you back one slide, sir? Tech guy? Anders Nilsson, could you back one? If you back one, please. It's actually three-legged. First, we try to employee fire souls. I don't know a better word in English, but the people who burn for anything or do their passion. One of my staff key members is a world athlete in swim run. Myself is a dedicated hunter. We have sales guys, we have runners, bikers, and so on. So we try to have a really engaging person in their field of expertise. That's one, to send an idea. Second is that we allow ourselves to develop so many ideas that may not fly. It may be a really boring or funny idea at the beginning of the creation phase, but we run it out. And third is that we have, as I said, sold over 200 million products. So we have a vast and used database of user data as people connect our items to their watches, right? And of course, GDPR proficiency. So it's these three. It's high on the roof, every idea is open. The chairman's board, we have 11,000 employees, a bit more. And I can go into the CEO in US and he will say, hi, who are you? Talk to me. So we have this high idea, everything is open, and then big data, and then real experienced users to comment it through the whole process.
Cool.
That's all I can say.
Cool, yeah. I was also thinking, because I mean, when I look at you guys, it's interesting because some of you are sort of an add-on to like Volvo Group. You know, you have a brand and then you add on something new when you do this and you start talking connected solutions. We've got Miris, who's like changing the product line and sort of the area. And then Swadd, new in the market, totally. And Garmin has so many different products, like you just showed. So how do you, since it's a bit different, but couldn't you all take turns and just explain that, how do you do that? Like the one that you, how do you add to or change? How have you done that, changing or developing the brand in your market?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, for us, I need to push a lot through the organization. So I need to, or we really need to be on our toes all the time, making sure that if something is cooking somewhere, that we are there supporting them and supporting them with our expert knowledge within our field, and really making sure that we get our message out. We have the brands that we have within the Volvo Group, and we also have the Volvo Group brand. So I think that we have a very strong base, and then we just need to make sure that we fill the brands with connectivity information in these matters. So using the brands that we have, we have fantastic brands. So we just need to continue to develop them more.
And if we talk to Camilla then, because I mean, you, like you said, 3 years ago, something big changed for Miris.
Yeah, so when I came into Miris, as I told you, the company was working with two different instruments, one for dairy and one for breast milk. And literally, the web page, front page, you had one breastfeeding baby, and then you had a cow. What kind of message does that give anyone? I mean, it's impossible to work with. So we needed to do something about that. We're a very small company. We're 8 people. And we needed to get a focus because we had also a situation, there had been issues with some quality problems, etc., etc. So when I came in, it was a little bit like, well, we have this thing here, it's not that good, but we're trying to sell it. And I'm like, oh my God, how do we do this? It's not a good thing to say to a customer. So we needed to kind of redo the whole thing. And first of all, focus everything around one strategy, work in one area, because since dairy milk market and the breast milk market are so extremely different, it's also almost impossible to have those types of customers coming into the same website. The one part is clinical, the other part is food processing, and it just doesn't work.
And the whole customer journey and type of customer is different as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. So we took that leap of faith and said, no, we're going to go away from dairy, and we're only going to focus on breast feeding or breast analysis. And then you have to obviously rebrand everything. And what we did was actually to bring in the whole team. Because in my opinion, you can't make a brand without your team. It has to come from within if it's going to be real. And if everybody's going to kind of live and breathe it and actually show it outwards. Yeah. So with the help of the byBrick interface team that kind of followed us through the whole journey, we were able to come up with this brand we are today, which feels the whole concept of bringing in everybody and actually seeing that, but the things we have are great, and people starting to get proud of it instead. And we can kind of walk like this now instead of like this, which makes a whole huge difference. So I think that was a great experience.
Yeah, cool. And so Celine, 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Building brands.
Yeah, we had
market.
to start from scratch. We have no competition, but we need to educate our consumers on how it works. And I think it starts with knowing your why. Like we have a vision that we have to democratize the advertising. Because the brands, they don't respect the consumer. So if you're connecting with a brand, you need to get something for that. Either it's humor, some other emotional, or monetary. Yep. So for us, it's knowing our why.
Yep. And then we've got Garmin. So you have the diverse portfolio and everything. So how do you add on if you add on? Yeah. Or how do you segment?
First, we try to get from product to user experience, which means that we try not to see our products that just the running watch or the golf watch or the personal navigation device. We talk about families or ecosystem, that they are connected devices. If you want to play golf here, you can have a GPS tracker on the club, you can have a rangefinder digital, and you can also have a golf watch. And we're trying to explain the usage in a system, which means I can throw in a new gadget in that system and not rocking the boat too much. I'm not making you choose between two, and I don't have to explain every feature. If I have a trusted brand, I can throw it in the ecosystem, and people will rely on it and see it because it's part of whole. It's holistics. The sum of the parts is greater than the actual value in the few. So I would say family groups or group products.
Very good. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to skip a few things that I had prepared. But one thing that I find really, really interesting that has been sort of the theme of the day is that all the four of you, are very data-driven. You do lots and lots of solutions and services and products connected to data, and also marketing through that. But how do you get data into both the innovation as well as the marketing strategy? Anyone want to pick that one first? Any takers?
I can start. I mean, since we have a lot of data, we have and that's what we work with all the time. So I mean, data scientists is one of the professions that we have. So we have. I think that we usually say that an iPhone has 10 sensors or something, and a truck has about 100 sensors, give and take. So you can imagine how much data we can get from just that truck. And then we of course have the buses and the construction and everything. So and we use that because we realize that the key going forward is this data, what we do with it, and how we can develop new things with it. So I think that on the development side, that's what we work with constantly every day. Super important. But then when it comes to the communication side, and we were discussing that a little bit earlier, that of course we try to use data, especially in social media and on the website and things like that. Data on and trying to track, but of course we could do much more there.
So you got a bit inspired by Fredrik this morning.
Definitely.
Very good, very good. Anyone else that wants to lean into this?
Just comment, as I said, 200 million users, right? So we get data from the publics. We have 11,000 employees. So we get super internal reference in early products. And then we work with the pros of every segment. So the Svenska Skidlandslaget, for instance, Norwegian Ski Associate, 91% of every athlete at Ironman Hawaii has a Garmin. So then we use the pros.
How much, now I get kind of, sorry, now I'm just like,
What?
So I just need to ask, how much, when you have so much data,
Yeah.
how much is software updates and how much is hardware updates in all your product launches? And because you've got apps and you've got like the...
Yeah. I would say that the product is 80% hardware. We are a hardware company with software support. So, and then we have five or six major upgrades doing the software. And this is because we have 4 major segments, right? We have marine, as I said, and the others. So different segments leads in different direction and develop different things, and then we reuse. So our golf product is actually quite near the marine product. Actually, is our newest rangefinder in golf is actually a marine product. So, and marine was very early with range and radar, and now we have radar for golf, and also bow hunting and crossbow shooting, we don't do in Sweden, but we try to lend over.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. That's just what I was looking for. Anyone else wants to comment on how you use data in either marketing or development? I know that you do.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's the only way we can try to be effective in our marketing, for example. Yeah, definitely. So we do that a lot. Yeah.
And I thought we would just like summarize and sort of like one last before we see if we have any other questions. But what would you say is your biggest challenge right now on getting innovation to drive even more in your organizations?
What's the biggest challenge? I mean, there are a few challenges, and I mentioned one earlier, which is, of course, finding the right employees that can work with the data. It is a big challenge, so I have to mention that one. But then I think from the communication perspective, I think it's interesting because I think that we are, at least in our department, we are not just seen as communicators. We are really part of the development process and the innovative process. So sometimes I say that we are more like business developers / communicators because the product is not ready. It's not really, we don't really know what this product will end up like. So in the process of communicating it, we also support in the development. So I think that is a challenge, but it's a positive thing where really the communicators are becoming something else than just communicators. It's really part of the business development.
Very cool, very cool. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Thank you. No, so our challenge is, so since we are a kind of a marketplace where we have the consumer or the customer and then the advertiser. So we need to make everyone happy. At one point we had happy customers, 5 stars on App Store, no advertisers, so no money coming into the company. And then we switched our model, and over one night we had super happy customers, advertisers, and less happier customers, or users. So I think we have to look at stuff that makes everyone happy, all the stakeholders.
So the matching is
matching.
That's what you're
a huge
looking
challenge.
at.
Yeah.
Cool, Camilla.
So I think at Miris, the innovation is actually the communication. It's not the product. It's how we communicate, how we reach our markets, which is really exciting, but it's difficult. and I think the challenge is to get everybody on board. It's also to figure out, we're as I said, we're 8 people, and I mean not 8 people in marketing and communication, in the company. The whole company. So we're talking about producing instruments, we're talking about tech support, sales, finance, because we're public as well, and we have, so it's kind of, it's one salesperson and I who are out there most, and then we have marketing. And then we have
customer support.
Exactly. No, I'm not taking care of that, actually. But so how do you do that with, and how do you reach a global market with that? Well, you use great agencies, of course, that you work with. I don't know. who we're talking about. And I think that, as I said earlier, so byBrick Interface was part of our change of brand from the beginning, and I think for us to work with agencies that is kind of emerging into what we're doing and understanding where we're coming from, who we are, and what we're trying to get across is extremely important. And then, so that gives us a skill set that we don't have internally, which is absolutely phenomenal. But it's also, how do you manage, to make sure that, because if one of the people at Miris gets sick, it's a huge burden for the whole company, because we only have one expert in each field. So always be able to make sure that everybody's okay following. I mean, we're out traveling and seeing stuff all the time, but to ensure that everybody engages in
Caring
that.
for the team as you do it.
Exactly. It's that's a challenge, but it's a good challenge. But it's hard work, and it's something I don't want to miss, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I think it's
totally
important.
Marcus, this is your chance to do the mic drop.
Yeah. My challenge, or Garmin's, what we have decided, is how do we move from a dinosaur? We've been 30 years in giving tech to the markets. And the majority of our customers is then, of course, male. So my biggest challenge in the Garmin society is actually to reach out here, as the majority has women also on stage. How do we market? How do we get through with tech innovation, which is as boring as digits and dots, into a user-friendly experience for the female audience? So that's our biggest challenge. We got the male. They're buying our stuff. So that's my challenge. Please.
You start by not showing just men on the photos?
Yeah, and that's what I meant. That's actually the history. That's why I brought it up. That is the history. And that also the user group. So totally agree with you. And that was why I put it up, right? So, yeah, it's true, right? It's the history. I can't lie about history, right? So agree. And that is our challenge, to move this Walrus of 11,000 employees and the way of thinking. And of course, the history has also that we also mostly employed men, as men were interested in the products. So I totally agree with you.
Good.
Any more comments? Please.
Do we have more questions? Did we have any questions in the app?
So I have a simple question. This kind of plays into a couple of your last comments. As we close, because we definitely we're going just a little bit over, but how do you create? Because so many people have talked about the importance of being human, and what does that mean, and catering to the customer and that user experience, which a lot of you brought up, and just that balance. How do you take something that's so innovative, and even Camilla, you said that the communication is innovative, but how do you take something that's so data heavy and so Marcus, like you said, it's so tech heavy? How do you communicate those human stories and mix that into it, so it's not just a slog of here's all of this tech and here's all of this innovation and losing the humanity from it?
Yeah.
Any takers?
I can take that one. So for us, it's all about making it human. Our customers, neonatologists, dietitians, they work with these tiny babies, and they have it's extraordinary to see their protection of the babies. It's fantastic to see. But that also means that this is deadly serious to them, and it has to make a difference. And what we're trying to do is have a dialogue. So we're trying to be as much as we can out there, but with the few people we can't be everywhere all the time. So we're constantly developing new tools. So we have a series of interviews with some customers, but others as well. We don't want it to be about the product. It needs to be about the whole concept of target fortification for preterm babies. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere. So we want it to become a dialogue. We have even started a studio in Uppsala where we can have direct training. We can have demonstrations, and that also makes us. We come closer to our customers and potential customers in a way that we have never done before by doing stuff like this all the time. So I think to try to be out there makes us more, taking care of the human factor of it also.
Can I just say a quick one there?
Yeah.
No, but that is what messaging and advertising is all about, making us feel something. And I think a good way to think of is doing something unexpected. For example, SBAB last year did a campaign about boendeekonomi är jättekul. So, and they did a humor show in Globen, which was it was named of the best campaign last year by 100 Wattaren, but it also doing something very unexpected and touch people with humor. So very effective and a very
So you just need to find how can you be more human even if you don't have
exactly,
human
and
product.
do something unexpected, I think.
Anything else, or are we wrapping up? Because we are a bit late.
No.
But on the human aspect, we have now donated. You've already had yours.
Thank you.
We've donated money in your name to Matte Centrum. We are so happy that you made this work for us and had this panel with us. And thank you so much. So, let's see.
And as she's handing those out, let's give our panelists a round of applause, please.
Okay.
In the back.